On a desolate morning, the Galactic Academy's spacecraft descended onto the frozen expanse of Coretha 7. The planet was an icy wasteland, its endless horizon veiled in a pale blue glow from its twin suns. Towering glaciers shimmered like giant prisms, refracting the sunlight in all directions. The biting wind howled across the tundra, carrying with it a promise of merciless cold and danger. It was the kind of environment that few species dared to explore, and even fewer could hope to survive. For this reason, it was chosen as the ultimate testing ground for the Academy's interspecies survival program. Among the group of 25 participants, Alex Fisher stood out not because of any unusual physical traits but precisely due to their ordinariness. Alex was human, and humans, though known for their adaptability, were still considered one of the weaker species in the galactic hierarchy. Standing at the edge of the group, Alex surveyed the terrain with calm determination while others fidgeted, checked their gear, and muttered nervously. The instructor leading the mission, Professor Zeekrath, was a towering reptilian figure from the Koran race. His emerald scales glistened even in the muted light, and his sharp yellow eyes exuded authority. A celebrated survivalist and a harsh critic of species he deemed inferior, Zeekrath had made no secret of his disdain for humans in the past. He now stood before the group, addressing them in a booming voice that carried over the wind. Today, he began, his gaze sweeping over the assembled participants, you will learn what it means to face nature's most unyielding conditions. Coretha 7 does not forgive weakness. It does not reward folly. Your survival depends entirely on your ability to adapt, innovate, and endure. But do not be mistaken, without proper technology, none of you would last a single night here. As he spoke, Zeekrath's eyes landed on Alex with a glint of disdain. He turned and gestured toward the equipment packs distributed among the participants. Each was equipped with high-tech thermal suits, compact shelter modules, and emergency heat generators, all essentials for survival in such an unforgiving environment. However, Alex's kit appeared startlingly simple, containing only a basic thermal jacket, a multi-purpose tool, and a small survival knife. This, Zeekrath said, pointing directly at Alex's modest pack, is what I mean by folly. A human attempting to survive Coretha 7 without advanced technology? Laughable. I suggest you reconsider your choices, Fisher, before this exercise becomes your last. The group chuckled uneasily, though a few cast sympathetic glances in Alex's direction. For their part, Alex remained silent, standing firm under Zeekrath's scornful gaze. The professor, clearly dissatisfied by the lack of reaction, continued. Humans are fragile creatures, overly reliant on emotion and luck. Your survival today will depend on the ingenuity of your tools, not on outdated instincts or naive courage. Alex finally broke their silence, speaking in a calm but firm tone. Professor, with respect, survival isn't just about the tools you carry. It's about knowing how to use what's available, what the environment provides. Zeekrath's nostrils flared, his tail twitching in irritation. We shall see how far your primitive methods take you, human. You'll regret this hubris when the cold sinks its teeth into your fragile skin. The professor dismissed the group to begin the exercise. The rules were simple. Each participant would be dropped at a different point within a 10-kilometer radius and tasked with constructing a shelter before nightfall. The temperature, already lethally low, would plummet even further once the sun set. Survival for even an hour after dark without proper protection would be impossible. As Alex stepped off the transport vehicle at their designated drop point, they immediately felt the sheer hostility of the environment. The air burned with cold, and each breath formed dense plumes of frost. The ground beneath their boots was a mixture of rock-hard ice and snow so fine it resembled powdered glass. Despite the harsh conditions, Alex felt a familiar thrill, the kind that had always come with testing their limits against nature. Years of experience in Earth's harshest climates had prepared Alex for this moment. They had trained in Arctic expeditions, learned from Inuit elders about snow survival, and even studied ancient techniques for building shelters in freezing conditions. Coretha 7, though alien, felt like an ultimate test of those skills. Alex knelt down, examining the snow's consistency. It was dry and compact, perfect for shaping into blocks. Over the horizon, Alex could make out the distant figures of other participants already deploying their high-tech shelter modules. The modules unfolded like intricate origami, transforming into insulated domes within minutes. Zeekrath's voice crackled over the communicator. Fisher, I trust you're reconsidering your lack of preparation. Alex tapped the communicator to respond. "Not at all, Professor. I'm just getting started." The professor's derisive laughter echoed through the device before it cut out. Alex shook their head and focused on the task at hand. Using their multi-purpose tool, they began carving rectangular blocks of snow with precision. Each block was carefully shaped and stacked, interlocking to form the base of an igloo. The work required speed and focus even with gloves. The cold bit into Alex's fingers, sapping their strength with each passing minute. As the walls rose higher, Alex paused occasionally to check the structure's stability. The snow blocks, though deceptively fragile-looking, were holding firm. Using their survival knife, Alex cut a narrow entrance tunnel to trap heat inside. Finally, they shaped a keystone block for the roof, sliding it into place with practiced ease. By the time Alex stepped back to assess their work, the igloo stood completed. It was a compact but sturdy structure, radiating simplicity and functionality. The entire process had taken less than 10 minutes. As Alex crawled inside to test the shelter, they activated a small emergency heat lamp from their kit. Within moments, the temperature inside began to rise, providing much-needed relief from the bone-chilling cold outside. Alex allowed themselves a brief moment of satisfaction before preparing for the next phase of the exercise. Overhead, a drone monitored the participants' progress, transmitting live footage back to Zekrath and the rest of the Academy's staff. The professor watched the feed with a mixture of disbelief and irritation as Alex's igloo withstood the harsh winds without faltering. His scales bristled as he muttered under his breath, "Impossible. It must be a fluke." But the storm was far from over, and Alex's true test of survival was only beginning. As the day progressed on Coretha 7, the frozen wasteland grew even more hostile. The pale blue sunlight weakened, giving way to an ominous twilight as the twin suns dipped toward the horizon. The temperature, already impossibly cold, began its steady decline toward absolute death. The air became heavier, sharper, as though it carried shards of ice with every breath. Alex Fisher adjusted their thermal jacket, feeling the increasing bite of the elements, but their focus remained unwavering. Around them, the vast expanse of ice and snow stretched endlessly, interrupted only by the occasional jagged spire of a glacier. The other participants, scattered miles apart, were busy activating their high-tech shelters. Through the faint hum of the comm device in Alex's ear, snippets of the professor's commentary reached them, a mix of praise for advanced technology and dismissive comments about primitive approaches. This environment, Professor Zekrath's voice crackled, is a testament to the importance of progress. No living being, no matter how resourceful, can hope to endure Coretha 7 without the advantage of superior engineering. Alex allowed themselves a small smirk, not bothering to respond. The igloo they had constructed in just under 10 minutes was not a product of advanced technology but of centuries-old techniques passed down on Earth. It stood firm against the biting wind, its curved walls and interlocked snow blocks a testament to human ingenuity. As Alex examined their work, they began to prepare for the inevitable, the incoming storm. The faint whistling of the wind had already shifted in pitch, growing louder and more erratic. Snowflakes, fine and almost imperceptible earlier, now swirled with increasing density, forming the first hints of a blizzard. Alex's every instinct screamed that worse was coming. Kneeling in the snow, they retrieved their multi-purpose tool and began reinforcing the igloo's walls, packing loose snow into any visible gaps and smoothing the surface to prevent wind from latching onto uneven edges. The thermal lamp inside cast a soft glow through the tiny air vent they had carefully carved at the top. As Alex worked, a distant roar echoed across the frozen plains, carried by the wind. It was not the roar of an animal but the unmistakable sound of the storm gathering strength. Alex paused, listening intently. The noise was accompanied by the faint vibrations beneath their feet, a reminder of how merciless this planet could be. This was no ordinary storm. It was the type that reduced even the sturdiest structures to rubble and swallowed entire expeditions without a trace. The comm device in Alex's ear crackled again, this time with a message that seemed tinged with urgency. Participants, prepare for extreme weather conditions. Wind speeds are increasing beyond predicted levels. Ensure your shelters are secure. Alex imagined Zekrath's smug expression as he likely envisioned their failure. But failure was not an option. Standing, Alex took stock of their surroundings. Snow was piling up rapidly around the base of the igloo, threatening to block the narrow entrance tunnel. Alex quickly cleared it, using the snow to further fortify the walls. Each motion was calculated and deliberate, conserving energy in the rapidly plummeting temperatures. The sky darkened further, an unsettling shade of gray-blue that seemed almost unnatural. The storm hit moments later, a sudden and ferocious onslaught. Winds howled like banshees, carrying sheets of ice and snow that lashed against Alex's exposed skin. Visibility dropped to near zero, and the temperature plunged so low that even the layers of thermal protection felt inadequate. Alex ducked into the igloo, sealing the entrance with a carefully placed snow block. Inside, the sound of the storm was muted but still menacing. The structure held, its ingenious design dispersing the weight of the accumulating snow and deflecting the wind's relentless pressure. Alex sat cross-legged on the packed snow floor, taking a moment to catch their breath. The thermal lamp cast a warm circle of light, its gentle hum a comforting contrast to the chaos outside. Alex pulled a ration pack from their kit and nibbled on a high-energy bar, replenishing their strength. Every decision, every movement, was a calculated step toward survival. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the planet, the situation was not as stable. The comm channel buzzed with frantic reports from other participants. "My shelter's integrity is failing," one voice shouted, followed by static. Another voice chimed in, trembling with fear. "The wind tore off part of the dome. I can't keep it stable." Professor Zikrath's authoritative tone cut through the chaos. "Activate your emergency protocols. Deploy secondary reinforcements immediately." Alex couldn't help but wonder how the professor was reacting to the realization that the most advanced technology was struggling against the sheer might of the storm. It was moments like this that highlighted the value of simplicity of designs honed by necessity rather than complexity. Alex's igloo, built with nothing more than snow and human ingenuity, stood resilient as the storm raged on. Hours passed, and the storm showed no signs of abating. The temperature inside the igloo remained bearable, though Alex knew they couldn't afford to let their guard down. They checked the air vent periodically, ensuring it remained unobstructed by snow. Their hands, despite the gloves, were beginning to stiffen from the cold. But they pushed through, knowing that movement was key to maintaining circulation. Outside, the wind howled like a living beast, battering the landscape with unrelenting fury. The comm device crackled again, but this time it was Zikrath himself addressing Alex directly. "Fisher, this is Professor Zikrath. What is your status?" Alex tapped the device, their voice steady despite the circumstances. "Shelter is holding. Temperature stable. No issues to report." There was a pause, as though the professor were processing the response. "Interesting. I must admit, I expected your unconventional approach to fail by now." Alex smiled faintly, leaning back against the igloo's wall. "The storm isn't over yet, Professor. Let's see how everything holds up." The professor's response was curt. Indeed. As the storm dragged into the night, Alex remained vigilant. Periodically, they reinforced the interior of the igloo, using their multi-purpose tool to shave off loose snow and pack it tightly into weak spots. The shelter, though humble, continued to defy the elements, its compact design proving superior to the exposed domes and angular structures used by the other participants. By the time the storm finally began to weaken, Alex had been awake for nearly 20 hours. Exhaustion weighed heavily on them, but the sight of the first faint light breaking through the storm clouds filled them with a sense of triumph. Crawling out of the igloo, Alex surveyed the landscape. The once pristine plains were now a chaotic mess of snowdrifts and shattered ice formations. Several of the high-tech shelters lay in ruins, their inhabitants huddled nearby in survival pods. Professor Zikrath's voice came through the comm one final time. "Fisher, report to the rendezvous point. The exercise is complete." Alex stood, brushing snow from their jacket, and glanced back at the igloo still intact, a quiet symbol of resilience and adaptability. With steady steps, they began the trek toward the designated meeting area, the echoes of the storm fading behind them. As the first pale rays of light broke through the turbulent skies of Coritha 7, the landscape revealed the full extent of the storm's wrath. The once smooth, icy plains were now a jagged chaos of snowdrifts and shards of ice, a testament to the planet's unrelenting ferocity. The air, still frigid and biting, seemed almost calm compared to the hours-long torment of roaring winds and blinding snow. Alex Fisher, stepping out of their igloo, surveyed the scene with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The storm had passed, and the real test of survival had begun. The igloo stood firm behind Alex, its rounded structure a stark contrast to the ruins scattered across the horizon. Many of the high-tech shelters, once hailed as marvels of engineering, lay in shattered pieces, their advanced materials unable to withstand the storm's relentless assault. Some participants were huddled near the remnants of their shelters, activating emergency distress signals, their thermal suits the only thing keeping them alive. Others had retreated into survival pods, their once confident demeanor replaced with visible fear and frustration. Alex's comm device crackled to life, and Professor Zekrath's voice, as sharp and authoritative as ever, filled the air. All participants, report to the designated rendezvous point immediately. Assistance will be provided where necessary. Alex could detect a hint of tension in the professor's tone, though it was expertly masked by his usual commanding presence. It was clear that the results of the exercise were not aligning with his expectations. The human's unconventional approach had not only survived the storm but appeared to have fared better than the very technologies Zekrath so passionately championed. Gathering their gear, Alex began the trek toward the rendezvous point. Each step was laborious, the snow deep and treacherous after the storm. The icy ground beneath was slick, and even the slightest misstep threatened to send them sprawling. Despite the challenges, Alex pressed forward with quiet determination, their mind racing through the events of the past hours. Every decision, every adjustment to the igloo, had been critical. Survival wasn't just a test of strength or technology, it was a test of resilience, adaptability, and an understanding of the environment. As Alex approached the rendezvous point, the scale of the exercise's fallout became evident. Small groups of participants were gathered around rescue drones, their shelters demolished or rendered useless. The once pristine confidence of their advanced equipment was now little more than shattered panels and exposed wiring. Alex noticed several alien participants gesturing animatedly, their voices raised in frustration as they argued with Academy staff. It was clear that the failure of their equipment had shaken their trust in the very technologies they had relied upon. Zekrath himself stood at the center of the gathering, his towering reptilian form commanding attention even amidst the chaos. His emerald scales glistened faintly under the pale light, and his piercing yellow eyes scanned the participants with an expression that was difficult to read, part frustration, part contemplation. When his gaze landed on Alex, it lingered for a moment longer than necessary. Alex could almost feel the weight of the professor's judgment as they approached the group. The igloo had not only survived but had done so with minimal resources, a direct challenge to everything Zekrath had preached about the superiority of technology. Alex's success was not just a personal triumph but a statement that humans, so often underestimated, possessed a unique resourcefulness that could not be replicated by machines. The professor raised a clawed hand, signaling for silence as the remaining participants gathered. His voice, though controlled, carried an edge of irritation. The storm has passed, but it has exposed critical flaws in many of your approaches. Advanced technology, while powerful, is not infallible. Those who relied solely on it without understanding the environment paid the price. His words were met with a murmur of agreement from some and silence from others. Zekrath turned his attention directly to Alex, his sharp gaze narrowing slightly. "Fisher, step forward." Alex complied, their expression calm but resolute. The gathered participants turned to watch, their curiosity palpable. Many had heard about Alex's unconventional shelter during the storm but had yet to see the results for themselves. Zekrath gestured toward the horizon. "Your shelter. It survived the storm intact?" "Yes, Professor," Alex replied evenly. "It's still standing, fully functional." The professor's eyes flickered with something that could have been respect, though his tone remained skeptical. "Describe your process." Alex took a steady breath before explaining. "I built an igloo using compacted snow blocks. The structure's design disperses wind pressure and insulates against the cold. It's a method humans have used for centuries in extreme climates. I reinforced the walls during the storm and kept the air vent clear to ensure proper ventilation." The professor's tail twitched, a subtle sign of agitation. "You relied on primitive techniques while others had access to advanced shelter modules. And yet you succeeded where many of them failed. How do you explain this?" Alex met his gaze without hesitation. Survival isn't just about the tools you have, it's about how you use them. The storm didn't care about technology, it cared about structure and adaptability. The igloo worked because it was designed for environments like this. Advanced doesn't always mean better. Zekrath's expression hardened, though he did not immediately respond. The murmurs among the other participants grew louder, their disbelief and curiosity evident. Many of them had dismissed Alex's approach as outdated and impractical, yet the results were undeniable. After a long pause, Zekrath finally spoke, his tone begrudging. "It seems there is merit to your unorthodox approach. However, this does not excuse the risks you took by rejecting standard equipment." Alex inclined their head slightly, acknowledging the point but remaining firm. "With respect, Professor, the greatest risk would have been relying on equipment that couldn't withstand the storm." The response elicited a faint ripple of approval from some of the participants, though Zekrath's irritation was palpable. He turned to address the group as a whole. "Let this serve as a lesson. Adaptability and understanding your environment are as important as the tools you bring." This exercise was not merely a test of survival, it was a demonstration of resourcefulness. Some of you succeeded, others did not. His gaze swept over the group before finally landing on Alex once more. "Fisher, your performance today will be noted in the Academy's records. While I may not agree with your methods, I cannot deny their effectiveness." Alex nodded, suppressing a smile. The acknowledgement, however reluctant, was enough. As the group prepared to depart Corythus 7, Alex glanced back one last time at their igloo, still standing defiantly against the icy expanse. It was a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of simplicity in the face of overwhelming odds. For Alex, the lesson was clear: survival was not about proving superiority, but about adapting to the challenges at hand. On Corythus 7, they had done just that, and in doing so, they had left an indelible mark on the Galactic Academy's understanding of what it truly meant to endure. As the participants boarded the transport shuttle to leave Corythus 7, the tension among the group was almost palpable. The aftermath of the storm had left many shaken, their confidence in technology, and perhaps even themselves, thoroughly tested. The shuttle hummed softly as it ascended from the planet's surface, its thermal shielding keeping the harsh cold at bay. Alex Fisher sat quietly near a window, watching as the icy expanse of Corythus 7 shrank beneath them, a reminder of the grueling exercise they had just endured. For Alex, the victory was bittersweet. The Igloo, their makeshift sanctuary, had proven its worth, but the ordeal had highlighted a broader issue: the blind reliance on technology without understanding the fundamentals of survival. Alex's thoughts drifted back to the moments during the storm when they had heard distress calls from other participants. Many had struggled to maintain their high-tech shelters, their faith in advanced equipment crumbling alongside the fragile domes. The silence inside the shuttle was interrupted by Professor Zekrath's commanding voice as he addressed the group. "Participants, I trust this exercise has provided you with valuable insights. Survival on Corythus 7 was not merely a physical challenge, but a test of your ability to think critically under extreme conditions. Some of you succeeded. Many of you did not." His yellow eyes scanned the room, his gaze lingering briefly on Alex before moving on. "Upon arrival at the Academy, each of you will receive a detailed analysis of your performance. The data collected during the exercise will inform not only your individual evaluations but also future training protocols." The professor's tone was measured, yet there was an undercurrent of frustration, a tacit acknowledgement that the results of the exercise had not aligned with his expectations. The other participants exchanged uneasy glances, their expressions a mix of relief at surviving and trepidation about the forthcoming evaluations. Alex remained calm, their confidence bolstered by the undeniable success of their approach. When the shuttle docked at the Galactic Academy's orbiting station, the participants disembarked in orderly fashion, each directed to a debriefing room. Alex's turn came quickly. They were led into a stark, minimalist room where Professor Zekrath waited, flanked by two other instructors. A large holographic display occupied one wall, projecting data and images from the exercise. "Fisher," Zekrath began, his tone clipped but not unkind. "Take a seat." Alex complied, their posture relaxed but attentive. The professor activated the holographic display, which showed a detailed map of Corythus 7, overlaid with data points representing each participant's location and performance. The image zoomed in on Alex's igloo, highlighted in glowing blue. "This," Zekrath said, gesturing to the projection, "is your shelter. A primitive structure constructed from compacted snow, lacking any advanced materials or integrated systems. Yet it withstood the storm where many high-tech shelters failed. Explain to me, Fisher, why this worked. Alex leaned forward slightly, choosing their words carefully. The Igloo's design disperses pressure evenly, which is crucial in extreme wind conditions. Its compacted walls insulate against the cold, trapping heat inside without the need for external power sources. It's a technique that's been used for centuries in some of Earth's harshest climates. The simplicity of the structure is its strength. It doesn't rely on complex systems that can fail. Zekrath regarded Alex with an inscrutable expression before nodding slowly. You are correct. The simplicity of your approach was, in this instance, an advantage. However, simplicity alone does not guarantee success. Why did you choose this method over utilizing the standard equipment provided? Alex met his gaze without hesitation. I knew the environment on Coretha 7 would test the limits of any shelter. The standard equipment is impressive, but it's designed with assumptions about wind speeds, temperature thresholds, and the duration of storms. I've trained in environments like this before, and I trusted the Igloo's proven effectiveness. It wasn't about rejecting technology, it was about using the right tool for the job. The other instructors exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Zekrath's tail flicked, a subtle sign of contemplation. Your reasoning is sound, he admitted, though his tone carried a hint of reluctance. Your shelter not only survived but thrived. However, this exercise was about more than building a shelter. It was a test of resilience, adaptability, and teamwork. Alex raised an eyebrow. Teamwork? We were intentionally isolated for the duration of the exercise. Zekrath's eyes narrowed, and he leaned forward slightly. Precisely. How you handle isolation, how you approach problems without external support, is a reflection of your ability to contribute to a team under pressure. Your success was commendable, Fisher, but it was solitary. Did you not consider reaching out to assist other participants? The question caught Alex off guard. They paused for a moment, recalling the distress calls they had heard during the storm. I considered it, Alex admitted, their tone measured. But leaving my shelter would have put my own survival at risk. If I couldn't protect myself, I wouldn't have been able to help anyone else. Zekrath studied Alex for a long moment before nodding. A valid point. However, survival in a controlled exercise is one thing. In real-world scenarios, collaboration often makes the difference between success and failure. Keep that in mind. The debriefing continued with a detailed breakdown of Alex's performance, highlighting both their strengths and areas for improvement. The holographic display shifted to show footage of other participants' shelters collapsing under the storm, their frantic attempts to repair or reinforce the structures. It was a stark contrast to the calm, methodical approach Alex had taken. When the session concluded, Zekrath stood, signaling that the conversation was over. You have exceeded expectations, Fisher. I will be including your methodology in the Academy's survival training curriculum. Dismissed. Alex rose, offering a slight nod of acknowledgement before leaving the room. As they stepped back into the corridor, they felt a surge of satisfaction. It wasn't just about proving Zekrath wrong, it was about demonstrating the value of human ingenuity and resilience in a galaxy that so often underestimated their kind. In the days that followed, word of Alex's success spread through the Academy. Other participants, initially dismissive of the humans' methods, now approached them with curiosity and respect. Alex shared their experience freely, emphasizing that survival was not about being the strongest or the most advanced, but about understanding the environment and adapting to its challenges. Professor Zekrath, meanwhile, remained a figure of both authority and controversy. While he grudgingly acknowledged Alex's accomplishments, he was already planning the next iteration of the survival exercise, determined to refine the balance between technology and adaptability. For Alex, the experience on Coretha 7 was more than a test, it was a validation of everything they had learned and believed. In a galaxy driven by progress and innovation, there was still room for the wisdom of the past and the strength of the human spirit. And as they prepared for their next challenge, Alex knew that their journey at the Galactic Academy was only just beginning. The days following the Coretha 7 exercise brought a mixture of reflection, celebration, and recalibration at the Galactic Academy. The participants, once scattered across the icy wasteland, now gathered in common spaces, sharing their experiences of survival and recounting the lessons learned in the face of nature's merciless power. Yet, amidst the camaraderie, Alex Fisher's story stood apart, a tale of defiance against conventional wisdom that rippled through the halls of the academy. For Alex, the return to the academy was bittersweet. While the success of their Igloo and the acknowledgement of Professor Zegrath had solidified their place as a formidable survivalist, the victory raised deeper questions. Why had so many relied so completely on technology? Had the blind faith in advanced systems dulled the instincts of their peers? And, perhaps most importantly, could their achievement spark a broader change in how survival training was approached? These questions lingered as Alex prepared for the final component of the exercise, a public debrief and evaluation session held in the Academy's Grand Hall. This event, a staple of the Academy's curriculum, served as both a learning experience and a ceremonial conclusion to major exercises. In the hall, students, instructors, and Academy leaders gathered, their attention focused on the towering holographic screens that dominated the room. Each participant's performance would be analyzed, their successes and failures dissected for all to see. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as the session began. Professor Zegrath, flanked by a panel of senior instructors, took the stage, his imposing presence commanding silence. He began with an overview of the exercise, his tone neutral and academic. The Coretha 7 survival exercise was designed to test the limits of adaptability, resourcefulness, and resilience under extreme conditions. Each of you faced unique challenges, and your responses have provided invaluable data for refining our training methodologies. As he spoke, the screens came to life, displaying footage from the exercise. Scenes of collapsing shelters, frantic repairs, and moments of ingenuity played out in stark detail. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the audience as they witnessed the storm's fury and the participants' varied attempts to endure it. When the footage shifted to Alex's Igloo, the room fell into a hushed silence. The screens showed Alex's methodical construction of the shelter, the compacted snowblocks rising steadily against the backdrop of an approaching storm. The simplicity of the structure stood in stark contrast to the high-tech domes that faltered under the same conditions. Professor Zegrath paused, his gaze sweeping over the audience. And then, there was Fisher. The murmurs grew louder as the professor's words hung in the air. He gestured to the screens, where the footage continued to play, showing the Igloo withstanding the storm's full force. This, Zegrath continued, is a prime example of what can be achieved through a deep understanding of one's environment. Fisher's approach, though unconventional, succeeded where advanced systems failed. It is a testament to the power of knowledge, creativity, and adaptability. Alex, seated among the other participants, felt the weight of every gaze in the room. Some looked on with admiration, others with curiosity, and a few with thinly veiled skepticism. Zegrath's acknowledgement, though begrudging, was a significant moment not just for Alex but for the broader conversation about survival training. The professor turned his attention directly to Alex. "Fisher, join me on the stage." Alex rose, their movements steady and deliberate, and made their way to the front of the hall. Standing beside Zegrath, they faced the audience, the holographic screens casting a faint glow over the scene. "Fisher," Zegrath said, his voice carrying both authority and respect, "you have demonstrated an approach that challenges conventional wisdom. Share with us your perspective, what drove your decisions on Coretha 7. Alex took a moment to gather their thoughts before speaking. "Professor, survival isn't just about the tools you have, it's about how you use them. Technology is an incredible asset, but it's not infallible. The storm on Coretha 7 didn't care about advanced materials or integrated systems. It cared about structure, stability, and adaptability. The Igloo worked because it was designed for those conditions. I didn't reject technology, I chose the method that made the most sense for the environment." Their words resonated through the hall, drawing nods of agreement and murmurs of approval. Zegrath regarded Alex with a thoughtful expression before addressing the audience. "This lesson," he said, his voice firm, "is one we must all take to heart. In our pursuit of progress, we must not lose sight of the fundamentals. Fisher's success reminds us that innovation is not just about new tools but also about reimagining old ones." The session continued with evaluations of the other participants, but the focus remained on the broader implications of Alex's achievement. Discussions broke out among students and instructors alike, many questioning how survival training could be enhanced to balance technology with foundational skills. For Alex, this was the true victory, not just surviving the storm but sparking a dialogue that could reshape the Academy's approach. In the days that followed, Alex became a source of inspiration and curiosity. Fellow students sought them out, eager to learn more about the techniques they had used. Instructors invited Alex to lead workshops on practical survival skills, blending Earth's ancient methods with modern insights. Even Zekrath, though still proud and somewhat distant, began incorporating elements of Alex's approach into his lessons. One evening, as Alex walked through the Academy's garden, a rare patch of greenery aboard the orbiting station, they encountered Zekrath. The professor, his imposing figure softened by the tranquil setting, seemed lost in thought. "Fisher," he said, turning to face them, "you've given me much to think about." Alex smiled faintly. "I hope that's a good thing, Professor." Zekrath chuckled, a sound that seemed almost unnatural coming from him. "It is. You've reminded me that survival is not about superiority but adaptability. Even the most advanced systems must respect the environment they're designed for. I was wrong to dismiss your methods." The admission, though understated, carried a weight that Alex could not ignore. They nodded, their respect for the professor deepening. "Thank you, Professor. But I think we've both learned something from this." Zekrath inclined his head, a gesture of agreement, before walking away. Alex watched him go, feeling a sense of closure and possibility. As the Academy returned to its routine, the lessons of Coritha 7 continued to ripple outward. Alex's success was more than a personal triumph.